Hi there. How are you today?
I'm doing so well. Good morning.
Good. Good morning. Good morning.
Nothing like our forever technical difficulties.
Oh gosh, I'm not an IT person by any
Me
stretch of the
either.
imagination.
It's so bad. And you would think that'd be better. I'm just kidding.
No, hey, I get it. I get it. It's like a light switch. It just should be one thing, on or off. That's it.
You wish. Well, let's get into it.
Yes, let's do
Awesome.
this.
All right,
Happy
y'all.
Monday. Oh my
Happy
gosh, the sun
Monday.
is shining.
And y'all, welcome to the Wolf and the Bear podcast, an educational podcast brought to you by myself, Sophia Sterling, your host, and psychic medium and channel Terri Groom. She's the number one, and I always say that.
I know, you're so sweet. Oh my
Psychic
gosh.
medium and DFW, and we're just here trying to bring real experiences, real education, humility, channeled straight from source or straight from our personal experiences so that we can kind of touch on things with a raw and real way about it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let's get into it. Okay, so
Let's
last
do
week
it.
I made a joke and I was like, I'm just going to collect questions for you over the week because that's what I think about all the time. And I'm like, what would Terri say? What did she think about these things? So not a ton, but I do have two. And we'll
Oh, I
kind of
like
jump into that.
questions.
Okay, because this is super woo-woo, but I had a thought.
Woo-woo's good.
This is what I wrote. I said, so if you're a doctor of like ear, nose, and throat, or just a doctor of any speciality, right?
Okay.
And your energy is constantly commanding those energies, basically telling it to go away through what you're doing and what not doing. Can you actually be healed by just being in proximity with them? Since the energy is already used to that energy commanding it. And tan is actually the reason I'm asking this.
Okay. Let me make sure I understand the question because I don't want to
Yes.
give a wrong answer because of not following through with what she's asking. So is the question, let me see, are you saying that to be in close proximity of say, a doctor or an MD, and you have these ailments or these infirmaries of throat issues, or am I following this
Yeah,
correctly?
just like a specific where it's like this
So,
person always does this one thing.
well, again, if we look at healing, we know that there's absent healing. We recognize that not all healings have to be hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that in close proximity, that's pretty good, seeing that we do a lot of absent, distant healings, to countries that are far, far, far away from us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we believe that those efforts are successful, then we would have to surmise that this would be successful as well. And one thing I want to throw in, and I try to always make a habit of that. Please understand anything we give that might appear or sound or be a little bit of what you consider medical advice. We are not medical advisors. We are medical empaths. We're not doctors. Of course, if anything you need as far as medical care, make sure you follow through, whatever that may be, whether it's 911 or your local doctor, your local clinic. So now that I've got that spiel out of the way, back to tan.
Yes.
More than anything, I'm going to say yes. If we believe in what we do as healers, then we must understand and must recognize that doctors don't necessarily have to have even an ounce of intuition, but they have the medical skills. So I would feel that they would have enough of that in their own energy, their own DNA, that they could share that just by the expression of osmosis.
Well, that's what I wondered because Tan was talking about she's in school right now. So she's side to side with a lot of people that are working in hospitals, but they're trying to get the same cert she's getting.
Yes, so, absolutely.
And she had like a messed up ear. And then just talking to this person that is an ear, nose, and throat doctor, she said she went home and she talked to her boyfriend. And she was like, yeah, it was crazy. We talked. She kind of gave me some really good advice. And he said, well, how's your ear? And she was like, well, actually, it's completely better. But that person didn't work on her ear, didn't promise care. And that's why it got my brain thinking. I was like, wow, just by being in the proximity, I wonder, like,
absolutely. And, I'm not saying that this applies necessarily to tan, but we also recognize that when we have an ailment of sorts, whatever it may be, in her case, an earache, we recognize that there is a certain amount of anxiety that's attached to that, and not just the pain. So if we have a little bit of anxiety and it's coupled with a little bit of pain, and we're in an environment where we know the person we are near to heals that type of illness, then our anxiety would go down because we know that if something was to go awry, we would have attention. So
Mm.
there is something to be said about the subconscious mind kind of grabbing a hold of that and saying, you're okay. You're okay. This is good. You're okay. Again, the
Ooh.
subconscious mind doesn't really have a lot of, it's not out there looking after you necessarily, but it gets a notion that things are okay and it goes to your conscious mind and then they kind of banter back and forth. But I do feel she knew she was in good hands if necessary. So everything was healed, including the
Oh,
slight
wow.
amount of anxiety that was possibly there.
Mm.
And
What is anxiety to you, just out of curiosity, in the energy?
in
Is it
energy, well, I have a different. Well, I don't want to say different. Maybe a lot of other people have it too. When I feel anxious, to me, it feels almost like a pressure, like it gets the air around me, the energy around me feels a little more dense, and I
Mm.
feel that okay, I've got to kind of get into this balance once more. Anxiety obviously and with most people, has a physical effect as well. So my heart will start to race a bit. I may feel a little, I don't want to say aggressive, but a little cranky. And
Mhm.
these to me are signals that I need to take a couple breaths. Maybe I need to do a couple jumps to reset my root chakra. And oftentimes we can deal with our own anxiety if we have a little bit of a pre-plan in advance of what to do. Usually in the heat of the moment, we tend to not remember anything of how to calm ourselves. But to me, anxiety, it can go from 0 to 100, and each step and stage can be felt very differently. But usually it feels as a density to me.
Mhm. And what does that look like to you in other people energetically?
Well, again, energetically, and we're human beings. We are very visual creatures by nature, oftentimes. Most of us are anyway. We want to do our best not just to, pay attention to body language, because obviously, we're reading energy, and the body is the energy as well.
Mhm.
But what I feel in others is, if I was looking at body language first, because it does come up, then I would say it's the look away. They look off to the distance. They get nervous. They start tapping and rapping with their fingers on the table. They move around in their chairs. Now they may just be bored to, might be really bored, and they're doing all these things to entertain themselves. But typically, it's when they are feeling a bit anxious.
Mhm.
As far as a feeling, if I was sitting there with them and I had a blindfold on, which is wonderful practice, people, it really is good way of practicing. Then it would solely be energy, and how would the energy feel? Well, I would feel a quickening of the just the energy around me. It would feel a little bit like a jump, like a quickening, and I would also feel that for a moment. I may even catch my breath
Mm.
and just kind of go, it kind of balance it out, basically out of me first, and then hopefully a little bit balance into them. But with others, it takes on many different looks.
Mhm.
But oftentimes, again, just their what's the word for it, their ability to focus and to sit in energy becomes skewed. They become just restless, whether it's through the body or through the emotional cues. So energy from them, and it's a good question, Sterling, comes in many different packages and many different faces.
Mhm.
So most of the time I can just feel it as just a heightened state, this hum, this energy surge.
Mhm. Well, and from like an emotional perspective, receiving that, because a lot of times our clients are anxious, whether they're just anxious to be there or whether they're anxious about what we're saying, or
Right.
they're like, I'm really, really Christian or religious. Maybe am I in trouble for even being here? So it's even anxiety we can't change really.
Right.
But I do think when it comes to man, so many times, 9 times out of 10, you feel the reduction of that when you just kind of tell somebody like, psychic, not psychic, it's gonna be okay. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Because that's the fear. It's like there's nothing telling us as adults. Like we're all adults paying taxes, and yet everything's so chaotic all the time that there's not really any feedback that's authentically saying it's gonna be okay.
Right. I
And
agree with that.
if that's part of that, I wish that's, I mean, maybe more effective in a short term component than like the pills that a lot of people, because that's the reduction of anxiety is now a very marketable um, and financially benefited area
Yes.
of medicine.
Yeah, very lucrative part of medicine.
And it works. You know what I
It
mean?
does.
But, I'm curious about this because I don't, you know this about me. I don't really touch or mess with Xanax because I'm a overthinker already. And then
Hmm.
even back then, when I did have a prescription for Xanax, I was anxious a lot. I'm not really anxious anymore. So, but one of the things I remember about it was that it was just very effective at calming any perturbance at all. Like
Right.
nothing affected you. And I wasn't, I didn't believe in spirituality at the time. So now I'm kind of curious about, I kind of call it no, and again, everybody's different. I'm speaking for myself. My medical reality with that drug is not at all a representation of anybody else's. But I am curious. I felt like a zombie. So where, if you have a client, and they are under the influence of a legal or an illegal substance, and usually
Right.
they're trying to, well, I mean, it's all anxiety or fear. Like people are just trying to calm down. Like there's no shame in that. It's
No.
hard out here.
Well, it
But
is.
it's hard out here for a pimp. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but so what does that look like? Like when you log in, right? You alert your senses. You're doing a reading.
Mhm.
What does it look like when someone has decided to sort of step back in whatever way, whether it's marijuana, Xanax, any of the number of things? Does that change the way you do the information transit?
Well, and that's, there are multiple answers to that question. So I'm going to kind of go through a few of them. In fact, we all have a certain amount of anxiety. We can't live in our world today and not have some anxiety. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
cost of living is ridiculous. The housing market is ridiculous. There's a lot of reasons for all of us collectively to be anxious. And you notice I said the word collectively because
Mm-hmm.
we recognized through the pandemic we were all on the same focal point. We all were thinking the same thoughts. So none of those were pleasant, of course. So we were all anxious, and so we know that we can absorb other people's anxiety as our own, especially all the empaths out there. So when I sit with someone, it really depends on also the location. How much leeway, how much freedom do I have to say and to react to the client? If I'm sitting with someone and they're halfway stoned and they're sitting in front of me and they're like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, I know that we're going to make about a little iota of progress, but I know then I have to go into the dude factor because I gotta go down the rabbit hole to meet them where they are." Okay, not that I'm going to sit there and puff away at a joint to meet them halfway, but I'm going to have
I
to
would
get
die
in,
if I ever saw
into.
that.
Yeah, you've never seen that. I can't even do gummies. But so we recognize that as we're sitting with someone, we have to kind of again meet them where they're at. Now, if I have a client that consistently comes to me and they're always stoned or they're always over medicated or at least mostly medicated, then I have to try and come up with a plan for them. Again, one size does not fit all. I can
Mm-hmm.
attest to that. It just doesn't. So when I sit with someone and they seem like they are trying to either self-medicate, which is a big thing these days,
Mm-hmm.
it really is a big thing. People want to self-medicate because they don't have insurance
Mm-hmm.
or they have a lower opinion of the medical community, and so they do self-medicate. They're having that second bottle of wine, they're having that extra joint, that extra whatever it may be that's causing them to chill. So if I'm in an environment where I have a little bit of flexibility, I'd like to get them up and off their feet, off their chair with me for a moment. We may even do the shimmy shimmy because again, that is my term for let's reset the root chakra, because sometimes when someone continues in a state of that stupor, they really do have just a kind of a they think they're calm and they're cool because they're calm, but they're really just in an avoidance pattern. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes giving them a little bit of extra energy or something to do to kind of get their heart beating slightly, other than whatever they're on, um, helps them to kind of refocus sometimes and reset. And so I would probably say, listen, I know you're having one of those days. If unless they're just peacefully stoned, then it'd be like, okay, dude, let's go where you're going. Let's see what it looks like down in that la la land, and I would work from there. But if it's someone who is not as happy with it or as successful with it, I'd say, you know what? Why don't you and I just kind of just walk around for a minute? You need some hot tea? I got some hot tea. You want some water? You want to look outside? Isn't it gorgeous out? Or, oh, look at the pretty rain. Whatever it may be. Do you want to take a couple deep breaths with me? Who knows? Do you want to do a belly laugh? Let's find something funny. I can figure out something to say that make them think. And so I want to change the dynamics of the session. I want to kind of go out of the box and do something that's going to catch them in a different state of mind. So, we sit with people that are anxious all day long. And I'm going to say to people out there too, just because you're crying doesn't necessarily mean you're anxious. I know that you would think that they go hand in hand, but I'm going to tell you that's not necessarily the case. I've seen plenty of tears that came from just an overwhelming abundance of love that was felt. And, maybe that's anxiety in a happy way. But I want to say that it's not always clear and cut and dry when people are having that type of emotion with you. Sterling, the thing about this is that there are so many different personalities out there, so many different methodologies to help them that there isn't one size fits all.
Well, so this is a weird question, but I think it tethers in, no pun intended, because it's talking about the tethering of the soul.
Yes.
So when we drink, that's a pretty, well, I mean, I think metaphysically, but for people who don't know, there's a belief system out there where when people drink to the point of blackout or to the point where they make their vessel super uncomfortable, there's evidence to suggest that the soul kind of sits outside the body. So people will say, oh, you see a lot of silver cords at late nights in clubs where people are like, the body's no longer comfortable. So they're just kind of like living, right? They're not dead, but they're not conjoined in the way that in sobriety or in awakened states you'd be, technically your soul and spirit would be in your body. So that kind of, it's still tethered, silver corded, but like it's out the body. Right. Is there a version of that you see with things that are less physical? Because the allegation would just be that the body becomes uncomfortable with the toxin of alcohol, but like weed or prescription drugs aren't really the same discomfort, so to speak. But is there still a version of it where, or just like dementia maybe, where like your faculties are not all available to you, so the soul gets bored and it's kind of doing its own thing, or is that not really the case?
And that's a really good question. I want to say, and I almost want to put them in separate categories.
Okay,
the dementia
that's what I kind of
versus
thought.
the.
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying.
When I look at, I mean, think about it. If you've had more than your share to drink and you're just going, woo, what, I don't know where I am or who I am right now. Can't you imagine your soul stepping out and going, dude, you need to dry up here. Because it's raining way too hard in that body of yours, and I am not liking it. Right? Can't you see it?
The density is so low.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the soul going. I'm not going far, but you gotta clean this room up here because I don't want to be a part of it. Okay. Now, as far as you mentioned a great point about, okay, so what is it with dementia? Now, again, we're not medical doctors or any of that, so we're going to talk about it on a more layman metaphysical viewpoint. I'm a firm believer, and I will always be this firm believer on this. I've seen too many examples of it to not be. I do believe that even with dementia and Alzheimer's as well, that the person is still quite there. That although the words do not come out in the manner that we would like them to, and the way that we can understand them necessarily, I do feel that everything is playing differently within their energy. Because I've just seen it too many times. I've sat with people that had dementia, and 1 minute they're thanking me for being there, and the next minute they ask me where the bus is. And so I do know that there is an outward effect of this. It's what we can hear and what we can see in body language. But I also feel that can be very different than what they're experiencing within their body.
Wow.
And so when people say, well, they're not there, I'm quite the opposite of that. I'm like, no, they've never left. Damn. In my take, they've never left. They just are not communicating with you in the way you would wish them to. And they know that. So they're very frustrated. And oftentimes it's the frustration that shuts them down. Because they know what they're saying inside their own body, in their own head, in their own energy. but it's coming out remarkably different in ways for us to understand. I see that, we see those that are in a coma, and people will sit there and overtalk them, talk around them. They'll sit in the room, and I've seen this firsthand a few times, and I'm like, you need to stop that, because you're not feeling that this person is aware, but this person has only awareness now. They
Oh
can't
my
leave the
gosh.
room. They can't get away. They have only awareness. So as you're saying things that are actually a bit demeaning, because you've got a live person laying in a bed, who's not doing very well, but is still aware, you're treating them as if they've already gone. They've already left. So we do have to be very sensitive when we see the different energies, the dementia, the Alzheimer's, and then the state of being in a coma, as we mentioned. I can also tell you that when I deal with clients that have lost loved ones that have passed on, that had dementia, that did have Alzheimer's, they come to me, and the first thing they say is something was wrong up here. They let me know that once upon a time, this is what happened. So they do not come to me through the spirit world, through into the astral, so we can communicate well with those issues. But they are aware they had them. And I have had loved ones on the other side that have said things that would have led, with no knowledge at all, that led me to believe that they felt very undervalued in the physical world, because they just were kind of put away. And so when I hear that, and I've heard it enough from the spiritual world, from loved ones that have crossed, then I have to take notice to that. I have to, think there must be something more to this. If I can have a loved one that says to me, I know that it wasn't their fault, but I really feel that they kind of left me, much too soon, instead of the other way around, which is very
Oh my
interesting.
goodness. Well, and just to keep it real with all of those emotions, it's weird because, the thought of that makes your heart bleed, because obviously someone's not doing well if they're already in that state of the Alzheimer's, or, what I mean? Like, your faculties as you know them have changed. But
Absolutely.
we also recognize, especially in the Western world, I don't know if it's a little bit different in the Eastern, but they're pretty shut down too. So I don't know if it'd be different. But we don't really talk about death, and we don't talk about age. And we, especially in the West, where we put people away, like we don't do the multi-generational household really.
No.
And it's like, well, then the concept of looking at someone that raised you and held you and taught you how to ride a bike, they can't do any of those things and can't even
Right.
represent that person anymore. So then I think it's a double-sided shutdown. Or I'm sorry, I guess, I wish that we could be better about it. And I think that that's one of the reasons, we're probably talking about it, because this wasn't on the plan to, but it's one of those things where it's not nothing, the amount of anxiety and pain watching someone that you love endure these things, especially if you also think they're gone.
Right.
I mean, and so, I watched it. There's a podcaster that I really enjoy. He's also a comedian, and he just had a baby, and he made a joke, and he was like, well, and dad was completely gone. And you could feel the hurt. He's kind of like, damn, I just had a baby. And I guess their pregnancy was super challenging. And you could tell he felt like that in that moment, his dad couldn't even be there with him.
Couldn't be
And
there with
basically,
him.
you and I are like, no, he
still there.
is. And this is the only thing that's coming to mind. So I'm going to say it how it came to mind. But I mean this with love and respect only, because you know who I am as a person. But I'm pairing this together because I'm curious about the answer. The dog buttons, right? Those are really popular right now. And people are coming to find that their dog is way smarter than they ever could have thought.
I love it. Finally.
Right?
Yes.
And
yes.
It's crazy. And there's even seems to be an evidence of, there's this one dog that kind of went viral because she actually started having mental health issues because the button allowed too much consciousness, it seemed. So then she started asking real questions. Why am I here? Why am I this way? Things like that. And then it kind of became a problem. Or for that dog in particular, because we've got anxious humans, we've got anxious dogs, Some dogs just don't care. I bet they'd be like, I just want to go outside all day, every day. But is there a version of that where, like, even if there was a way to really reduce, even if you made some kind of form of communication physical, would that be something that, because I mean, memory and verbal communication is such a complex thing in the brain,
Mm,
where
it
as
certainly
opposed
is.
to putting your hand somewhere or like yes and knowing things, is that beneficial or is that just even more condescending?
You know, I'm a firm believer in, and I have some personal experiences with loved ones, with different states of mind right now.
Mhm.
But I will say, anything done from the heart is going to have a better opportunity and
Mhm.
chance to be received well. Okay. Now, if I sit there and I put, six pieces of paper and I kind of throw them at someone, go, okay, you need to tell me what you want.
Mm-mm,
I
yeah.
probably just for spite would go, let's see, I'll take this one and this one. And it would be done again because it's not done from kindness in the heart. I wouldn't take it well. Is there
Mhm.
a way for there to be again a secondary language, whether it's done by pushing buttons or done by hand signals to be able to continue to carry on conversations? I say absolutely. Anything you can do. I'll tell you, when I go to a foreign country, I don't know the language, right? I mean, I'm just as, full of dementia as anybody else that's in a foreign country that doesn't speak the language, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I can't talk to them. I can give them hand signals. I'm pretty good at that. I start waving my hands around. But I have to find a way, a method to communicate. So
Mhm.
now I know it's not that simple when you're dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's, but in my view, you've got an opportunity to try your best to find something that will help them to reach you or you to reach them.
Mhm.
It's funny you mentioned the dog buttons, and we'll get back to the other in just a moment. Because I just recently had a client who told me that her dog was acting out. I said, well, wouldn't you? He's bored. He doesn't have anything to do. He's going, I'm tired of the balls. They're the same balls. I've seen them forever. The last one got stuck under the sofa, and she laughed. She said, that's where it is. I was wondering where it was.
Oh, that's so
And
funny.
and so I said, this dog is extremely smart. And I didn't really know about the dog buttons. I stay pretty ignorant in my own little shell most of the time. Um, and so I said, why don't you do something fun? Get yourself a couple baskets and get yourself, something that says this is a treat basket, this is an out basket. Because dogs are very motivated with treats, right? And
Mhm.
outdoors, right? So you give them two fun things and see what they do. Say, this one's out, this one's treats. And you let them know, and then they have to take their ball and put it in one of the baskets. Got hair in my mouth. Because I hope it's mine. Um, so what she was like, will the dog do it? I said, I don't know. I'm not there. Go try it. See what you can create. It's another
Mhm.
form of communication. So she hasn't come back to me yet, but I hope she does. Something as simple as that. I mean, it's very motivating. I mean, really, I would play with those baskets all day if I was a dog. Go out and then get a treat. Get a treat, then go out. But realistically, what it's doing is it's giving an alternative system, an alternative
Mhm.
communication system. I'm in for me personally, give you a little bit of an emotion behind this. I have a sister who has had 4 strokes, and there's not really a diagnosis of dementia, but there's a lot of things that have been awry with the faculties of the brain from 4 strokes, and so the communication style had to change along with it.
Each
Um,
time or no? Or was there one that was particularly worse?
well, it's interesting. I feel the first two were quite severe,
Mm.
and the other two were just kind of like to be rude. They just kind of came in and go,
Aftershock.
yeah, let's seal the deal here.
Mm.
But what I recognize in my communications with her is that sometimes she is very alert, and I, really embellish those moments. There's a lot of laughter, and we make it very high level so that it seems really good, so that the
Mhm.
feeling is of pleasure and good things. And there's times where there's very, very low, as you can imagine. And it's hard to have a lot of, obviously, you can't show a lot of things with your hands when you're on the telephone. But then it's more of, you kind of meet the person where they're at. So
Mm-hmm.
then we talk in short sentences. And we don't ask a lot of deep questions because that takes a lot of conscious intellect. So
Mm-hmm.
it's more of, oh, it's raining here. And so once it's understood raining is, what that is, and go, tomorrow's sunshine. Ah, sunshine, yes, yes. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm reflecting and sharing with you all is that you can always meet someone where they're at. And that the person behind the dementia, the person behind the strokes, the person behind the Alzheimer's is still there. They are still there. And if you were caught inside a box that you couldn't get out of, wouldn't you be frustrated too? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times they're agitated. And people will say, I can't deal with the agitation. And I get it, totally get it. I understand the agitation. I would be that way too. So
Mm-hmm.
y'all better hope that I don't get dementia or Alzheimer's, because I'm going to be a raving, starts with B, ends in an H. Because that'll be the box I can't open, okay? And
You know what's
so,
really funny though? Actually, if that ever happened to you, I think you would become hilarious to yourself. You would just start messing with people.
oh, I
And
would have to.
nobody would know why. And only you would know why. And you'd be
I
having the
would
best
have
time
to.
ever.
I would have to. I'd be doing the duck walk down Walmart.
Because
I'd be having a
you're not the
blast.
type to bang your head. I mean, not that, but that has to be what it feels like if you to bang your head against a wall. You would just start having fun at some point.
I would hope that those thoughts and ideas would still be prevalent, because I would expect to do that. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess in a nutshell, what you're hearing, listeners and viewers, is a kind of a roundabout way of just bringing energy in. No, we're not experts on the fields, and no, don't take notes so you know how to medically handle your family or your friends that have these diseases or illnesses. We're just simply saying, from an energetic standpoint, please remember, those people are still there. They
Mm-hmm.
may not be at their best, but they're still there. They're still cognizant, at least to themselves. They may not be
Mm-hmm.
able to formulate a decent sentence, or may not even be able to speak at all, but they're processing information. It's just trapped. It doesn't come out. And
In
that's the
your
problem.
in your experience with the other side of it, where someone has endured, because we're speaking about this honestly because you have your sister and I had my dad, so
Mhm.
we were pretty close to these experiences. But so after someone does pass, because this is a curiosity I've always had regarding, because like with my dad, and again, we're getting medical, but this is my opinion, I don't know what's going on otherwise, but he had Parkinson's. We began to really feel like that the medications were a little bit worse than the issue. And so
Right,
maybe his shaking was less, but his cognitive function was almost gone. So then
right.
he'd get off the meds and he'd shake a lot, but he would be present in those moments, like kind of what you're talking about, where
Yes,
he's here today. And
right.
so there is a curiosity because I have an opinion about it, but I'm also almost 30, but not yet. So it's kind of a wild thought that my opinion about the aging process would mean anything right now. But when they pass and there's a recognition, say maybe they've got 15 years like that, and I hope not, or like 10 or 5. And then it's kind of this endurance game, right? Because no one's loving that necessarily,
Right.
but you are alive. And maybe if you have grandchildren, if you have multiple reasons why you still feel like being present is really important, then
Yes.
that's one thing. But do people on the when they pass after these infirments, do they ever wish that they had done it, like they hadn't fought so hard to, like, I don't know how to say, like, be well, given the fact that it was a troubling and a challenging time that they were still here for? But, like, is there ever regret where they're like, dang, I wish I didn't need that time necessarily? Does that make sense what I'm asking? It's a
I
weird
haven't.
question. I know it's a weird question.
Well, it's actually a very interesting question, because we do have several clients, and we will continue to have several clients that have a loved one on the other side that did have these difficulties and challenges. I mean, it's just a common denominator in our world today for whatever reason. We could take a whole session just on what causes all of these things, and we could probably come up with some pretty substantial reasons and causes. But when we talk to those from the other side, I've really never had them say, listen, you should have left me alone. I was going to be just that. It's better now. It's more of, wow, if I knew this was here, I wouldn't have worried about what happened. I wouldn't have worried about all the other things.
Oh,
They
wow.
do come back to their faculties. They do come back to their own understandings. They come out of the box, and when I say the box, obviously, it is a term. No one's in a box, people, because I know there's going to be someone there that says who's putting their loved ones in a box. I know there will be, because there always will be that one person, right? That's why I don't read reviews, okay? Because there'll be that one person that's going to say, I'm calling CPS, you've got your loved one in a box. Okay. So I really don't have them come through and complain about it. I just have had them come through and say, look at the difference. I'm back to my old self.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you completely. There are many instances where the treatments, again, they continue to help them to, elongates their life, and it keeps them living. But some of the treatment protocols are more damaging to the body and to the emotions and the psyche than anything. And I have some dear friends, actually. I've got two of them now with Parkinson's, and it's a troubling illness, because it takes its time, but it's debilitating. And there are so many new treatment protocols that they have in place for it. But my gosh, I mean, I saw one of my dear friends like buy out the Dollar Tree because some of the medications make them hyper alert to purchasing things. They become a compulsive shopper.
What is that about?
Don't ask me. In fact, I made her. It reprograms part of the brain.
I remember.
And she
I think now I
literally
remember you told me about this. I think
told
that
you,
was
yes. I mean, I begged her not to go on Amazon anymore. So she's such a dear soul, she didn't. But instead, she went to Dollar Tree. And who buys 20 bags of Dollar Trees? I'm sorry, I love Dollar Tree. I'm not putting them down. I don't want that review either. But who would do that? No one, if they had all of their sensibilities intact. And we see that again, is the treatment worse than the illness, and who's to judge that? Who's to, oftentimes the person who's getting the effects of it doesn't have the faculties to really say yay or nay. So it's kind of a shame, actually.
Well, there's a very weird tide that's turned in my generation specifically, I think, because my generation's basically that the millennial age where so far not many people have made enough money to really feel confident in buying land or anything. Retirement's not even on the table.
Right.
And then on top of that, it's like the medical thing, right? Because I would say we might be the largest cohort, and then the next one after, of course, is going to be worse. But the largest cohort of medically uninsured,
yes.
Right? And then on top of that, you have this. Well, the people that are uninsured, they're not even thinking about their health, not really, because they're like,
most
we're not
of the time
insured.
they're not.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
it's not even an option. I, in some regards, have fallen into that over time because there are things where I'm like, well, I better be well.
Right.
And then even the people that I know who have medical insurance, it's not a priority like it was for my parents. Like I felt like for my parents, it was always like, yeah, we had scheduled doctor's appointments. This was all part of living, this maintenance. Right. That doesn't seem to be in the ethic at all for the people I know. So it's weird because, and then the negative, so that whole, like big pharma has been under fire for a while now.
Yes.
But even in media, I knew something was up when I saw the shift in the media about it because there's a really great TV show. And the entire nature of the show is this family that basically creates a medicine and becomes millionaires. And so it's this like kind of a hit piece on big pharma. So I think that there's some interesting tides turning when it comes to the medical field because there's a resurgence in naturopathy that I love. Ayurvedic stuff is kind of coming back. So the pendulum's always swinging. And
absolutely,
it does seem,
as it should be.
Yeah, because you're gonna have people like me who is like, well, if it's garlic cloves and castor oil, that's $20 all day. And if I go to the doctor, it's 150 children that I haven't had yet, and they all belong to them. You know what I mean? Like you're signing your firstborn, and you're trying to just be well. And so I understand why people are looking into the medical industry differently. I think that's going to change for a while too.
Oh, I hope it does. You really, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It needs to change. And
Mm-hmm.
again, we're not supportive of pharma. We're not unsupportive of anything. We're just kind of giving you our, lead with love, wisdom second. And I'm right there. My opinion is strong on this.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, again, just for the viewers here, I am just a slight bit older than Sterling. Few days, that's all.
Just a few
Uh,
days.
just a few days. And so in my generation, when we have insurance is a pretty rock solid, right? You're going to have a $10 or $15 copay. You're going to put that change on the counter, and they're going to thank you very much. And you don't need a receipt because nobody's going to bill you afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So even with insurance today, those that are with insurance, most of the deductibles now are between 5,000 and 10,000, and the copays are now, if you have one, it's $100.
Isn't that true? Oh my
It's
gosh.
amazing. So you can't even really count on the insurance as something other than for catastrophic care, because most people spend the entire year and don't meet the deductibles. Well, my take on it, if I don't meet the deductible and get any benefit out of the insurance at all because I'm still paying my deductible, I like this. Maybe we should all listen carefully here. If I don't use my insurance and my deductible's not met, and it's just nothing more than a little piece of plastic that I've been carrying around for a year, I think all my premiums should be refunded because I didn't use your business and you're not going to use my
Mm-hmm.
resources. Now that's just my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Now that's not going to work,
Right. But
but
be that as it may.
be as it may, it's just, again, just to substantiate the notion and the fact. Really, it's a fact that insurance, whether you have it or not, really in this day and age, doesn't mean that you are covered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
I think that there will be telemedicine is a thing right now,
yes,
but this is not a tree I plan to shake in any way, but I do think there is a tree of opportunity surrounding modernizing the medical reality,
yes,
maybe even to where it starts to have a higher resemblance towards the Uber, DoorDash pay to play, right? It's like you need a
yeah,
service.
yep,
Here are a collection of people that do it this way.
yes.
Still legal, obviously. I mean, but this whole I see it shifting even with it's like who's gonna the office thing is not you have a huge collection of people who get anxiety just being face to face with somebody. You think they're going to book a doctor's appointment and then go in and then wait and then go in to talk to a doctor about very vulnerable medical things and then leave? Like, it's just not happening anymore. So
No,
we're
it's
we're, we're
not.
seeing a shift. And so if you're someone younger than me, younger than us, who wants to go into the medical field, it'd be very interesting to understand where the laws are trending towards as far as telemedicine versus what's available, because I do think there's a lot of shifting.
Well,
It's
and
going
I
to be
agree.
different.
There's definitely some shifting, but I'm going to tell you, I'm a little old school, maybe because I'm a couple days older, as I mentioned. But when I look at this, I look at it a slightly different. I love the fact that yes, we've got telemedicine, and we've got all the modern ways of getting an appointments, of just clicking into a Zoom session or whatever of the many that there are. But a perfect example. I know someone near and dear to me who was having palpitations, but it wasn't a shortness of breath or anything, so it wasn't life threatening. Get in the ambulance and go to the doctors or go to the hospital. But I just couldn't imagine how a telemed was going to handle that.
Mm-mm.
If
No.
I'm sitting across from you in a screen, like we are today, yes, I'm intuitive, so I may give you some of my information through my medical empathy, but I don't really want an MD sitting across from me going, well, let's see. I can't really hear your heartbeat. Well,
Mm-hmm.
no, because you're like in a box, with a volume control button.
Right.
So I'm going to suggest that you take this instead. Okay. So you don't really have any idea whether I'm making it up because I'm anxious. And my
Mm-hmm.
heart's racing because I didn't realize that I just ran around the block, came back and I'm out of shape, and now I have a racing heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel that it can be overused and it can be
Mm-hmm.
used in very inefficient and dangerous ways.
Oh, telemedicine, absolutely. No,
Telemedicine for certain. And I
100%.
like it though for, if I just need a prescription refill, I really don't want to jump through the hoops, stand in line. And now
Mm-hmm.
half the doctors are, remasking. Let's remask. Let's all look like, we're there to rob the place. So that we stay healthy. And I
Mm-hmm.
get it, and I'm not putting a slam on it. Y'all need to laugh instead of getting all irate about that remark. But I I see the benefit, and I see
Mm-hmm.
how clear it can be. I got to tell you something I saw this morning. I don't. I'm too old to be a YouTube person. Oh wait,
Mm-hmm.
this is YouTube, isn't it?
You are? Yeah, I was gonna say it's too late,
I'm
Terry.
playing, okay, but I don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of things. And trust me, I don't even watch this. But don't listen to me. But no, I saw this little thing pop up on my phone while I was trying to, sort out my text messages. And it popped up. It was the funniest thing because it was a very common ADHD drug. Now I'm not going to say what it is because again, I don't want just in case. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is funny, but what they were talking about was that this particular drug was coming now into a tincture form. And I don't know where this came from, but it showed up
Ooh.
in my feed. I swear to you, it showed up in my feed.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman was literally taking this tincture of this very high profile ADHD medicine and putting it under her tongue and then licking her lips and going, now over the counter. And then another flash of it,
No
she was cleaning
way.
her house. And I'm like, oh gosh. Once upon a time, I would have thought that that was a spoof, right? I would have thought, oh, that's
Right.
funny. Look at that. And today I looked at it and went, oh God, is it true? That's
Right.
what's happening. Oh no.
Yeah. No, that's a
She
great
got on
point.
telemed and look what she got. She picked it up at
100%.
the Kroger's down the street. So
Oh,
anyway, I don't know. I
there
don't
is
know.
availability there. That's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting because there's been a crackdown on. I have a good friend of mine who is in telemedicine, but she has a medical condition that kind of prevents her from going into a
Sure.
physical facility.
Absolutely.
And it's been so funny because she's hard ass, like I mean, not and she reviews other doctors before
Right.
they send their script, and so she talks to me about like she's pissed off a lot of them already, because she's like, this isn't enough. You know what you
Oh
know what I mean.
yes. Oh
Um,
yes.
so she's not the one who's gonna let anything kind of go easy, but I'm always up to date on the laws through her. So there's been a recent crackdown in Texas, at least, where for a while, basically since 2020, I think it was like MDs, LVNs, LPNs, PAs, they can all do telemed. And I believe
Yes.
now they've backed it up to now MDs and PAs, and that's it.
Yeah. I
So
know.
that shifts the framework so that, the pendulum's always swinging. So there's
It
that,
is always swinging. Really, I'm glad they changed that ruling
me
because
too.
I did a telemed one time, and she came out of the medical records department,
And
and
you're a previous medical professional, so you know quite a bit about this industry.
and I do, and I was actually, oh my gosh, everyone was believing me. Hear what I said? She came out of the medical records department, and I did a telemed with her.
Oh,
See, everyone believes it.
oh gosh. Yeah.
I,
No, now I'm tracking. Now
I,
I'm slow, but I'm worth waiting on. I
it's
promise.
okay. I'm slow and I'm worth
I was like, what do you
printing.
mean the department? No.
No. So in other
I
words, she
mean,
was filing
nothing's
medical
above.
records and then was
Oh
talking to me in
no.
full terms. Yes. We're there. I
God
love
bless
it.
America. Land of the free. Right?
Land of the free. But I am going to do this one of these days. And I've only had one telemed appointment. And it was kind of unnerving to me because really, I
Mhm.
mean, I had bronchitis and I'm like, how are you going to know what I sound like unless I'm coughing and gagging in your face here? You can't take your stethoscope out. So everything I do, I have to be animated. There we go. Enough for you to know I'm serious. So I'm
Mhm.
sitting there going, ah,
You got your Oscars on. You're like,
dude.
I'm gonna get this freaking medicine.
Yes. But the best, and I'm waiting for this, but I'm going to wait till I'm about 80 because I know it's going to ramp
You're
up.
so, you're so extra.
I am so ready for this. When I'm 80, and you mark my words, it's May. So when I get to May, and when I'm 80, you all better be just stay tuned, because I'm going to do a telemed appointment with my internist. He does them. He might be dead by then, but I'll have his
Stop.
records person do it.
You'll just bring him through from the other side. You're like,
Yeah.
hey.
So I'll be on this telemed, and I'm going to go, I have this rash.
No.
This rash. There's a place for it, but there's also some skill sets that need to be done in person. And
Well, and
I'll tell you,
let's not even go into AI medicine.
oh my gosh!
I won't touch it.
You wait. Someday they're gonna do Pap smears by
It's a
telemed.
thing. Well, there's already some
is.
components to that, but
That's right. They're gonna pull up. No, actually, it's gonna be better than telemed. They're gonna pull up, like those doggy shampoo places,
right.
that now are mobile.
Just run you by.
They'll just come by.
Oh my
And they're
god!
like,
That would actually work.
One in the other room.
For the next generation, it's like if you go to the doctor, you get to play with puppies. That's the only way you're going to get them there.
I know.
It's a fact.
Well, exactly. You get to play with puppies. I love puppies.
And
I'm going there.
Them.
I'm going to the doctor every day because I want to play with puppies. And I want to get some of that tincture, that liquid tincture that they were getting.
You said I'm going to hit a certain point and just go for everything.
I'm going to get it all. I'm going for the grab bags.
I love that though.
One of
my favorite comedians,
you name it.
He said, I can't wait until I get old enough to the age where people start talking to you like you're a dog. He said, I'm going to just start messing with everybody.
I can't wait. I know. It's funny you said that because once upon a time, and it's so off topic, so just bear with me.
No, I'm here for it.
Maybe I do need that little liquid tincture that you can get at this grocery store. But I remember when, and I'm a good mom, okay? And it's too late for you to do anything about it now anyway because he's a grown man, okay? But we were at Petco one day, and he'd been asking for a treat. Speaking of puppies, see, I'm not that far off the path here. And so my son was asking for a treat. We were at the register, and I had all this stuff. We had puppies at home, and we had, gerbils and rabbits, and oh my God, we had reptiles. It was like Noah's Ark. And they all spoke a different language at the time. I couldn't understand a darn thing they were saying. But
the animals?
Yeah, yeah. So,
well, because I know, okay, I'm going to be, I kind of was like, do they have accents in spirit?
Yep. Well, I'm going to say they do because I've met a French kitty cat before. It was very cool. But
need to. Well, next time we're bringing up animals. I need that. I need that conversation. I've got to figure out what you're talking about. But go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, we're at the register, and I know this is off topic, but it's funny. And so my son had wanted a treat, and we had looked at all the the fun stuff to buy for our animals, puppies, because again, I'm linking it to the puppy conversation we had. I'm not in early stages of dementia. I'm still almost there. So he had been wanting a treat. So there was a bowl of treats on the counter. And I looked at the bowl and I thought, well, I bet they're natural treats because, this is a pretty cool place. I come here all the time. I said, do you still want your treat? And my son said, yes. I said, have one. So he was eating out of the treat bowl of the puppy dogs.
Oh, man. I
was down for it. I figured if it was going to hurt him, why am I giving it to my dogs, right?
Did he like it?
He did. And then the register person looked at me and went, oh, those are for dogs. I said, I know. Thank you. So anyway, I got a little rise out of there. But I've also had them offer him when he was young. They'd say, you want one of these? So long story short, I like puppies. Thank you. I do like puppies.
I too like puppies. Well, they're a lot, but I'm a cat. I think I'm a cat person. If I had to.
Yeah. I'm an animal person. I like them all.
Fair. I'll never forget when we were at New York and you were just straight up having a conversation with that horse.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And you literally were like doing your own thing. Like you weren't speaking out loud, but I could tell you were doing something. And then I was like, what's going on? You're like, well, that horse doesn't really it doesn't understand what's going on. It's kind of irritated. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I remember that. That was such a sweet horse.
Yeah.
I tried to invite him over, but I don't think he got the address because I never saw him after.
Well, I remember at the time there were like kids coming up to the thing too.
Oh yes.
And so it was just it was a whole gamut of emotions from the horse, and you were just tapped into that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
It was really, really cool. And to the listeners out there that'll really not understand this at all, you can mull over this for a bit. The horse was on a boat. Oh, gives you
Yes.
something to think about. The horse was on a boat. What were we doing?
Yeah. Well, I already know because I cannot wait to actually have that conversation because preview for probably next week. But so one of the things that Terri does very well, and I've seen her, I've listened to you do this. It's amazing. But reading animal energy is very similar to human energy, and so I've very much straight up listened to Terri have a conversation with a dog in spirit, and the dog just ratted out the owner for like all these things that I know for a fact the owner was like didn't know what to do with that information per se. And if there was anyone who was doubting, oh, does the dog have the ability to communicate consciously? I was like, oh, this is hands down the evidence anybody would need. Because she was like, I don't like my dog babysitter. All she does is sit on the couch. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my goodness.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
I do too. It was just so funny. Or when the dog was like, I tell everybody this. Whenever the dog felt that she was in trouble whenever the owner would pick up all the toys. And so, that's such a crazy thing for humans because we're like, we're just trying to clean up. The house is a mess. That's what we're doing. It would never intuitively to me hit me that like the dog feels like it did something wrong and you're taking away all its toys.
Yes.
That just made me reshape like the way I think about how my animals receive what I do. Because I don't want them to feel that way.
No, not at all. And we are going to have so much fun on the next round of this. If we do animal communication, I'm going to tell you the animals are like 2 and 3 year old children in the way that they tattletale. It's amazing. I just love it. It's a lot of fun. I love working with animals.
Oh, great. Oh, I'm so excited. Well, that's now at least we know what we're doing next week.
We are. Oh, we could say this live with all our viewers. I'm doing something really cool Monday morning early. So we have to move our time.
Okay, yeah.
Just so you'll know, I'm so excited about this. I get to be in a commercial. Woo! Yeah.
Can you say
this redhead's and then glowing. But yes.
Is it the hair industry?
No, no.
Oh.
Even though I know I'm styling it right now.
No, I love it. No, but okay. No, can you say what the industry is?
Oh, I can, yes, because the Miracles of Joy are doing a wonderful segment and advertising segment for the stores, and they've invited me to be in the commercial. I get to be a teacher. I'm very excited, so hopefully I didn't spill the beans.
I'm so happy.
You'll listen to this after the fact, and I'll say, well, no, you know it.
Well, this is posting Friday.
Okay,
but I don't think they care. They don't mind.
It's all right.
Oh, congratulations! That's so cool.
I'm very excited. So we'll definitely just have to move the time a little bit.
Absolutely. We'll figure that one out.
I'll be rocking the camera then too.
I love that. All right, cool. Well, we will sort that out. And then it looks like we have done it.
Oh,
once
no.
Again.
Once
again, every time.
We have done it. Oh,
Yay.
my. What a fast, furious, wonderful session.
Oh,
wow.
I love
fantastico.
And they make me so happy. Let us know how we can get to you, Terri.
Oh, gosh, please do get to me. vitaperceptions.com. I also have a wonderful website. Please check it out. That's the vitaperceptions.com. If you want to send me a message, you can use my vitaperceptions@gmail.com. I'd give you my telephone number, but I already get a lot of fan text messages. They're not fan, they're questions, okay? I prefer at this... if you'll text me or visit my website for more information, I would really like that. That would be very cool. Thank you.
All righty. Well, I will see you next week. We'll figure out what time we're meeting up, and we'll talk probably about animals and other ADD stuff, because that's what we do.
I love it. And I'm going to go ahead and get the address for that tincture for all of you listeners that want that.
Get me some. Don't forget me.
Get 2 bottles, you get 2 free.
Yeah, just guzzle. I'm like, I need to focus. No. Visit you in spirit. So it didn't go great.
Yeah.
I'm over here now.
Here I am. I didn't even finish all of the 4 bottles I bought.
If I ever die unexpectedly, is there a way that I can jump scare you from the other side? Or will you just feel it when I die and you're like, oh, she'll come soon? Or is there a way to hide it and then be like, hey, Terri.
Okay, I'll tell you my fear so you can do this and you really jumpstart my heart. I don't like paper bags with eyeballs. So, with the holes cut in.
Oh,
So if you,
yeah.
as a spirit, good luck to you on this. If you happen to get one of those brown sacks, get it at the grocery store when you're picking up your tincture, okay? Um, Put some eye holes out and put that over your head, right? If you and
None.
spirit do that to me, we'll definitely jumpstart something. You might have
It's a
to
date.
put me in that telemed conversation
I'm
because
just
my
trying to
heart
jump
will be
scare you to
doing
get into my
this,
side.
okay? That's right. I'll just walk over the
Just
rail
scare
and
you
be
to
right
death.
there.
No. No, I
Oh,
love you so
I love
much.
you too.
So we'll talk next week. Good luck with your the week itself, of course, and then good
Thank
luck with
you.
with Monday. That'll be awesome.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. And also for all of you listeners and viewers, we need your questions. I mean, really, we can talk a lot on our own, but we sure like to help you out too. So if you've got a
Absolutely.
question, Sterling's the person who needs to get it, not me. We'll just
Yeah, absolutely.
Sterling,
If
how
you
do
have
they
any
get?
questions, comment on our videos, comment on Spotify because I do have questions, an option for that as well. Or send me a message at sophiasterling@gmail.com. And we will, if it's personal or if it's just about metaphysics, we'll try to get it addressed. And yeah, but
Perfect.
we're more than anything, we're trying to help people. We're not just talking to talk. We are because we love each other and this is what we do together. But also there is a component where no one, and if you want it to be anonymous, just email it to me, right? But um we are very motivated to sort of address issues that other people have. Like I could sit here privately and tell Terri all of my woes and she could help me and vice versa. But more than anything, we're like, hey, if you've got something on your heart, if you've got something on your mind, we'd love to know what it is, and we'll try to address it with love and respect and kindness, and love first, wisdom second.
Excellent. You remembered.
Always, always, always,
Always.
always.
I love it.
All
Love
right.
you.
I love you. I love you. I love you. We'll see you
Love
next
you.
week. And
All
thank
of
you to the
you
people
and me.
listening. We really, really appreciate that's happening. I'm starting to see the statistics, and we are being listened to. So that's really, really cool.
Oh,
Because
good.
we're 6 episodes in, and we're doing good work.
Well, we're trying. Lead with
Yes.
love. That way you won't bust us on wisdom later.
Yeah. All right. I love you. We'll
Love
talk
you too.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.